Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How the heck are you doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. Today we are talking about Lego Dreamzzz, the second wave of Lego Dreamzzz here. And we got our last one, mid-time last year or earlier in this year, halfway through the year. We've got wave 2 that is coming out on January 1st for everybody. So we're going to take a peek at some of the early sets that are coming available very soon. So the first one I wanted to lead off with is Mateo's off-road car. 71471 is the set number. This thing bolsters an impressive 94 pieces and a price point of $10. Yes, 74 pieces. Now, again, the cool thing about the Dream stuff is not only does it have a series that you can watch and play along with, you can also modify every single one of their little vehicles and stuff like that, which is great for kids to be able to choose different things, different theme type ideas throughout the entire wave of the entire show. Really, it is a lot of fun. It just depends on how you choose to look at it. So what do we get with this thing? Well, you get your character Mateo. He doesn't come with his little little poking, I don't know, sword, whatever you want to call that thing. He doesn't come with it this time, but he is here with Blob. So Blob comes in this set. Blob is kind of intertwined into this vehicle, which is kind of weird in its own right if you stop and really think about it. But the cartoon is also bizarre and unique in its own right. So you come with a little hand blaster for him. By the way, his garb is exactly the same as it was earlier in the year. Same faces and everything, same hairpiece, same everything. He does come with this little tile blaster. It's a single shot, and then you also have your extra to go along with it. You do get this hourglass, this sleepy hourglass type deal that goes on the entire theme of Dreamzzz. And then you get this little vehicle. You get this four-wheeled quad type vehicle with some of these trans green little curves. I like the way that this is done. It's a fun little vehicle. It feels like it should have a lot of flex in it. It doesn't really have any flex in it, just ever so slightly maybe. Anyway, it's pretty neat. It's not bad. A couple stickers here and there. You got some little flaps, fins on the side, whatever you want to call them. And they are used for when you choose to put this into, you can leave it like this, or you can modify this thing and turn it into this flying kind of weird behemoth looking thing, but it is still kind of cool. Anyway, so you pop the tires off, you move some things around, and before you know it, you've got this little quadcopter idea that's going on, and you've got Blob that is just chilling here in the back. He comes in a little weird form that I've never seen before. I don't think we've seen him in this form before, but he comes in this little trans green, neon green color that we see him with, and it's I don't even know what this is really called. They use these as like warning lights and stuff like that on Lego City vehicles and stuff. You know, kind of the amber blinking lights, but this is in obviously a different color, and it just has two little eyeballs that are printed on there for Blob. Now you've got your little flyer here. You can spin this thing around. It is quick. It is easy. It is nothing super complex or difficult to get to. I do like your little bad guy here. He is kind of cute looking. Anytime we can get a fun little bad guy, I'm always okay with it. But he essentially could fly away with the sleepy dust, which would suck for them. Anyway, moving along to the next one. So up next, we have Izzy's Narwhal Hot Air Balloon. This thing is 71472, the set number in case you're looking for it. It has 156 pieces and retails for $16. The interesting thing behind this is, well, I kind of like the narwhal just for the fact that it is a narwhal. And anytime we can get a narwhal, I'm okay with having a narwhal. It doesn't matter whether it's brick built or it's, solid cast piece of plastic. I don't really care. It's a fascinating animal to me. So, of course, you have the opportunity to be able to build a narwhal and then change it up and do whatever the heck you want to do with it. So the set does come with Izzy. Izzy is your main character here. Her brother is Mateo, and she's in her traditional garb with her sword that she's got going on here. And of course, it comes with her bunny. And then you have your other little bad guy here, because they all constantly change. And this one is Grimmspawn. Grimmspawn has some wings, and this is the little tiny little body guy here, one of the tiny little body guys here. And he's got a purple carrot that has a wrench sticking out of the end of it. It's some kind of snagging machine, I guess, maybe snag the bunny or something else. Either way, it is still really kind of fun. So the narwhal looks like something out of Lego Friends, or maybe out of some kind of dream, which is, I'm not trying to make a pun here or be silly, but it definitely looks something like it could come from a dream. Now, the fascinating thing behind this is, while it is a pretty simple build, it is kind of cute in the way that it's done. It does have printed eyeballs that are very kind of fairy tale-esque in the way that they're kind of glimmery and stuff. I kind of like that. The purplish color here, I love the way this is done. It's so pretty. So pretty. You got some flippers on the rear, or tail on the rear, and then you have flippers on the sides that go up and down. The tail can go up and down as well. The mouth on this thing, very heavy, the entire top portion of this when you open it. And you can open it, and there's a dead space that is in there. Why? You can do a number of things. Mind you, this is a kid's toy based on a theme that is very about dream world and fantasy and all kinds of different things. So you could put your bunny in there, 100%. You can keep your bunny safe in there. That's about all you can get in there. But if you think differently, you could take Grimmspawn, and you could remove his little backpack thing and remove his weapon and toss him in there. Be like, the narwhal ate you, ha ha ha, which I think would be kind of fun in its own right. Then you have to come to a crossroads, and that is the theme of the day today when we are talking about Lego Dreamz, right? You always have to choose a side. And this is very difficult for me to do most times. I really struggle with going which direction I go first. I ultimately choose each side after the other is completed. However, the second one, which I did first because I didn't think it was my favorite, you're essentially attaching a chariot to the back of your narwhal. You remove a few pieces, build a few pieces. And I got to say, this is probably the one set where there's not as many leftover pieces like there are with some that we'll talk about here in a little bit. There was one that I built and I was kind of like, this is a lot of leftover pieces. While I'm okay with it, it kind of sucks in its own right. So essentially you are building this carriage that is being dragged behind. But I was more in a whimsical feeling, and I wanted to have the idea that this little baby, this narwhal, was going to go flying through the air. I chose to turn it into essentially a hot air balloon, which the hot air balloon, of course, we just said it in the title, but you're actually kind of turning it into a hot air balloon. So you build up this little section here. You've got your little tub, this big giant wooden type tub that I don't take a bath in that anymore, but I know a lot of people that did when they were younger, or maybe you still do, depending where you are in the world. But if you have an iPhone and you're listening to this somewhere around the world and you're still taking a bath in a wooden pot, cauldron? I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by your life choices. Anyway, what do we have here? Simple little kind of flyer that tucks up underneath here. The whole idea behind it, this does have a telescope so that you can look off in the distance, or I guess it's almost kind of like a periscope, but you're not underwater, so it doesn't really. Anyway, so you tuck her in here. There's some balloons that are hanging off the side, which is kind of cute and nice little touch. And all you do is clip this into the bottom with the 4 studs right there on the bottom, and you fly this thing around, and you get away from Grimmspawn, or you're trying to catch Grimmspawn, depending on how you keep your adventure going. Maybe Grimmspawn is taking something from you. Maybe Grimmspawn is just a bad guy and you're trying to scare him away. I don't know. Either way, it's a cute little set for $15, $16. Yeah, that's about right. The only thing that sucks about the Lego Dreamz theme in general is that most times you have a bunch of leftover pieces, and then you're kind of like, well, now what do I do? Well, it's not marketing after you. It's marketing after a kid, and I understand why they do that do that. It just kind of sucks, because, as a completionist, you kind of, you get done and you're usually used to having, I don't know, in a 150 piece set, you're going to have, 4 or 5, maybe 6, pieces, the leftover spare pieces left. And then when you end up with 10 or 15, you're kind of like, I need to do something else with them. Anyway, moving along. So the next one we need to discuss is Mr. Oz's space car. I love Mr. Oz in the series, and then also in the Lego sets we have had him in so far between earlier in the year and now. I'm a big fan of. Anyway, this set retails for $30. 71475 is the set number and has 350 pieces. So we're doubling plus our pieces for the set in comparison to the next one. And the price value is only going up just over half. So that seems about right in general. So with this, obviously we get Mr. Oz, we get Jaden, who is the child that has the braces type headgear thing that's coming out of his mouth. And then we have Albert. And I believe this is the first time we've been introduced to Albert. So the fascinating thing behind this, before we get really into any of the minifigs or anything like that, is the fact that this is space themed as well. We have a lot of space theme coming in 2024 for Lego City, for Friends, for Creator, for pretty much everything. And now you see it falling into the Dreamzzz as well, which of course it should. So our minifig characters that we have here, like I said, we have Albert, who is one of those tiny little squishy little minifig guys with the tiny little arms that you can stick stuff under. So we've got him here. He's in that gold and he has a space helmet on because he's in space. Now, Mr. Oz, it's Dream World apparently, and he doesn't need a helmet, but Albert does, which is kind of weird. Mr. Oz comes in all gold, kind of like Goldfinger. Anyway, comes in all gold here, has his beard that he's got going on, his crazily furry face and head. He looks like a primate on the top of his head or on top of his body. It's kind of bizarre. And then he also comes with this little, I guess you could call it like a shoulder pauldron / spots where you can clip things into the bottom of the back of this, which is weird. And then he comes with the hourglass that is on the front. Comes with a little blaster as well. Anyway, that is him. Jaden, same print as before in the past. His little sleepy unicorn on his shirts. Unicorns are so cool. Who doesn't love unicorns? Oh, unicorns and now narwhals. 2 things with horns on their head. One is real, one is fictitious. Or is it? I still challenge people out there in the world to prove to me unicorns are fictitious. I may be joking, I may be not. And then we have our little bad guy here. And this is essentially just a brain. And I'm not kidding. It is a brain inside of a case here. It's printed on a pink minifig head and has kind of like the brain, whatever, those kind of weird ridges and stuff. I know there's a name for them, but it's been a long time since I've taken anatomy and physiology. And there's some flyers on here, and it's got a 4-leg walker. It's also got a little eyeball on it as well, which is, it's just look, I understand it's Lego Dreamzzz and stuff like that, but it looks like a walking table with a brain on top that has wings. It's really weird. And then obviously you have the eye in the center. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So then we move on to the main build. And this is what obviously everybody is after. You're always wanting to do the fun thing. You're always wanting to build the super duper cool car. Now, I teased this on Instagram. And what I found fascinating is this car felt kind of Speed Champions-esque, but almost more so with way less detail, but more so towards like Lego City, what you would see Lego City cars. Very much like that, which is not a bad thing at all. It was a lot of fun to put together. It wasn't anything super difficult because, again, you look at the target demographic here, it's an 8+ set. It's not anything that is supposed to be very difficult for a young kid to be able to throw together. The car is really neat. I like that. You have some stickers and stuff. The big giant canopy that goes over there is really neat. It's not opaque. It's not translucent. It's kind of in the middle of that. Although from the exterior, it looks like it's opaque because of the opalescence, the bluish opalescence color that they have going on here, which is just kind of weird in its own right. Anyway, so then you have an opportunity to decide, where do we go from here? Do we go road A or do we go road B? Now, there is no wrong way to go. You can go one or the other. It doesn't really matter. And you can just have some fun with it. Enjoy it. Have some fun. Live your life. Do the thing. Do the do. Mountain Dew. So you can go through and you can add a little flyer, or turn it into a flyer, I should say. And you can turn it into a flyer, you can turn it into a rover. So when you go through and you do the flyer part of this thing, you are essentially just you take the wheels off for both, but you're taking the wheels off, you're adjusting some things around, you're adding on little spaceship pieces, wings on the sides, and then you're taking these big oversized Mars, whatever, space wheels and stuff like that, the big white ones that have all the Technic holes in there, and you are attaching those to the rear and then to the front. In the front, they are being attached to a 6-stud shooter. You have 2 of them, one on each side, and then in the rear, they are your propulsion. It's a fun little idea. I like the other idea better just because I like moon roving type ideas. But to have something that is a flyer, I think is great. You go from a car to a flyer. I think it's great. It's perfect. It's wonderful. It's amazing. It's a joy to play with and just enjoy in general. I liked it, but I like the Moon Rover entirely 10,000 times better. So here's what you do with your Moon Rover. When you get the opportunity to be able to build your Moon Rover, you remove the wheels, if you hadn't done so already, and your tires, and they're going on the back of this little flyer that Oz, not Dr. Oz, Albert can use. And Albert can fit on here and fly around on this if he wants. And you have the tires that are on the back is kind of like your propulsion, and you just go about it that way. Then for the Rover, you're essentially just taking a Technic frame, putting on those big white wheels. You have 6 of them, 3 on each side. You have a satellite dish of some kind that's listening, scanning, radar dish maybe. And then you have above the car in the rear, the car body, you have this 360 degree spinning, really bad area for a bad guy. And what I mean by that is you have this turret that is just kind of spinning around. You can put Albert in there. God, I did it again. No, I did. I was right this time. Albert. I thought I said Oz again. Anyway, so you have this little tile that is here. It's a 1x2 tile, and I wish it was printed. It is not. It's a clear back sticker, but it kind of gives you an idea of what is going on. Just kind of like a little readout. This is where your 6 stud shooters are on each side of this build. Cool thing is they can be tilted down or they can be tilted upright. Just because they're clipped into place. They can also be spun around 360 degrees, just like I had said earlier. So you have a couple different options here. I like the Moon Rover the best of all. I kind of messed about with it a little bit, trying to feel like, okay, can I get kind of any kind of flex in the wheels? You can a little bit. It's just because of how the framing of this, how the wheels kind of splay out. You definitely don't want to put any excessive weight on it because you will break it. I can promise you that. But as a whole, I don't really feel a whole lot of wasted parts here. This is probably the only set that I would say that there were no wasted parts. And the interesting thing is the wheels, the rubber wheels, when you take them off and they have their little Technic pins, you can actually keep the Technic pins inside of the cockpit if you so choose. Now let's talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, right? $30. I think it is pretty good considering what you are getting. I love the fact that it is $30 and you are getting essentially 3 different play builds. This would be something if I were buying something for a kid. Now, kids don't want duplicate things, but if I got 2 of these, like let's say I got one from, I don't know, my uncle, and this is me as a kid, not right now. Let's say I got one from my uncle and then my grandparents bought me one. The same exact thing because they didn't communicate. Communication is key. They didn't communicate. So I end up with 2 of the same thing. Most kids are going to be like, I already have this. I don't know if kids still do that anymore. I don't think. Anyway, I'm not going to go on to a whole long diatribe about that. They could essentially be like, oh, I have a Rover and now I have a Flyer. I have both at the same time and I can have fun at the same time. I can do 2 different things with 2 different vehicles instead of having to tear one apart to be able to switch in and do all that. But let's be honest, that's what kids do. They build it, play with it, tear it apart, make something new. and then they combine it with something else and make something completely new using all those other pieces, which they didn't initially need to begin with. That felt like it was a lot. But I do like the set. I think it is a very nice price point. I think it is a pretty good set as far as just play value, creative play value in general. And you get the idea of, like I said, a flying vehicle, flying space vehicle, or some kind of rover. I don't know about you, but I need to grab some water and rest these vocal cords for a minute. We'll be back in a second. Alrighty, on to the next one here that we have Zoe and Zion, the cat owl. Okay. All right. I'm curious. Let's go ahead and talk about it. This set number is 71476, retails for $50 and has a whopping 437 pieces. So the pieces, not nearly as much as what it should be as far as the price increase, and we'll explain why, and you'll know exactly why here in a few moments. So we have a couple, not a couple new characters. We have a new introduction in this wave of characters. We have Sneak, who's a little bad guy. He looks like a little weird cat. We have Snivel. We have the Night Hunter, which is not new. We have Zoe, and we have Cooper, both characters from the past as well. So let's talk about Sneak. Sneak is this little kind of weird cat-bodied thing. There's really not much I can really talk about him. Creepy looking face, these big kind of bat ears and the hair piece slicked back. He comes with a little chain. Then we have the Night Hunter. Night Hunter has been the same as it always has here. He's got his little kind of shooter blaster here that has some kind of bolt that shoots out of it, and it's got a chain as well. I love his hat though. Love the hat. And then we move on to our other little baddie here, who is Snivel. I think we've seen Snivel before. It's hard to keep track of all of them. You know, it'd be essentially if Ninjago went and named every single one of their bad characters and you had to remember them all, versus Snake 1, Snake 2, Snake 3. You know what I mean? It would be wild and crazy. However, comes with a chain. This is the one of the characters that has the big giant minifig head, the big giant head on the tiny little body. So you get that there as well. Cooper comes with his giant axe, hammer axe, whatever you want to call it. Wicked huge. Looks like something that you would see for like Thor for his hammer. Obviously his hammer's not that big, but it just felt like it should be that big. So yeah. And then you have Zoe. Zoe comes with her little archery bow that she has that you can actually shoot stuff out of. She's got her cloth cape on the back, and then she's in her standard garb as well. So let's talk about the build. As you get into this thing, you are just looking to build a little kitty, a cute little kitty. You get to the end and you're like, oh, look at my little kitty, my little Zion kitty. And then you have to adjust. Then you have to choose how you're going to do this. And the reason, if you followed through the instruction booklet on any of the ones in the past, or even if you watch the cartoon, think of it as like Power Rangers. You are fighting this bad guy. They turn into a bigger bad guy. You don't have enough to beat this bad guy in your size or your tools that you have to fight this bad guy. Now you have to improve. And that's essentially what they're doing here. They're taking the cute little kitty, who kind of looks like Unikitty in the face, and turning it into this giant warrior cat. This fictitious idea behind it. And I did forget to mention there is one other little bad guy kind of thing. He doesn't have a name, but it's this little flyer that flies around. It's got two little shooters, little tile shooters on the sides, and it's got wings, a giant eyeball, and kind of just creepy, weird looking. So you have two options, not opportunities. I guess you have opportunities, but you can turn your kitty into pretty much whatever you want, depending if you have enough pieces. But you can turn your battle kitty into one that flies, or one that basically turns it into a peacock. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. It looks like a peacock if you do that. So the first way that you can go about it is how I have mine currently. I went through the peacock route and I was like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. You're essentially taking these giant leaf petal pieces and then the giant dual molded. I'm pretty sure we saw them in Ninjago first. I swear. They look like giant feathers. And we have these in that greenish color, that neon green. And then what looks like some kind of white that is almost mixed into the mold with it. But you end up with that. you're taking those pieces, you're adding some other things on, some slopes and tiles and plates and whatnot, obviously. And then you are essentially just building up this, it looks like a turkey. Okay. That turkey, a peacock, the feathers come up in the rear. And that is really all you notice. You don't notice the head anymore. You don't notice the body anymore. That is essentially what is going on here. And it's kind of almost like a shield on the cat, which is fine. I don't have a big deal with that. It's kind of cute. It's kind of fun. I was kind of like, I can't leave it like that. I don't like it. I just don't like it. Now, obviously, some people are going to like it. Some kids are going to like that better than the other version. I prefer to have my cat as a flying cat. And you can have it as a flying cat, or you don't necessarily need to make it fly. Anyway, so let's talk about the cat in general here. So little Miss Kitty that we have going on here. The head is on a big ball joint. You can rotate that around 360 degrees. It lifts up so far and goes down so far. And she's got printed eyes on these little slope pieces, which is kind of cute. Legs come out and then can go forward and backward. The paws, down at the paws, we have this kind of like elbow joint that we got and you can rotate around. But down at the paws can be moved around quite a bit to be able to get it to stand on a pretty good footing. You can have them kind of, just normal all fours, or you can have one back, one forward, and the other further in, kind of like an animal runs or stands. Well, I guess not stands. I've never seen an animal just stand weird like that, like mid-gait run. That would be weird. That'd be really weird. Anyway, so the back legs are about the same as well. Those joints, the click joints that move forward, backward, legs splay out and in. Your feet in the back are pretty much the same size, but you can also adjust it so that the foot, I guess, when I refer to a dog leg, okay, when somebody says a dog leg, like in racing, or a double dog leg, or a dog leg in golf, right? It's an obtuse angle, and it's just the way that a dog's leg comes together, I guess, at the back of what would essentially be a knee, right? Except dogs don't have rear knees or front knees, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Anyway, so you have this big, long, what looks like it's supposed to be the bottom of a foot. It's not the bottom of the foot. So you have that. And then you have this tail. The tail is on a ball joint. It can rotate around 360 degrees. You can lift it up. You can put it down. You can spin around, round and round, however you want to do it. And it's a big, fat, thick tail. It is absolutely 100% a weapon. If you want it to be a weapon, it could be a weapon. And I'm sitting here manipulating this thing as I talk just because I don't know what is going on in my head right now, but it's just kind of funny. But the body itself, you can sit a minifig or stand a minifig just behind the head as they show on the box. You could do that. If not, you don't have to, but there's really nowhere else to put a minifig. So now you can add on wings. Pop these wings on. And like I said, they have the big bluish, light azure color petal piece here. And then you have the big green feathery pieces here that you have. And the nice thing is your wing is pinned in, or axled in, I guess you could say, but it is on a ball joint. So it can swivel back along the body. It can come out forward so far, or you can flip it to where the wings, the feathers are, instead of sticking up, they are kind of along the side of the body to actually get it to look like it's flying with actual wings. So that's kind of cool. It just depends on what you want to do. Maybe you just want to put the wings up as if they're, like protecting, but it's kind of cute. And the other thing that you do is you add on this kind of warrior decoration to the face of the kitty. And if you think of it like on I can think of like old war movies, not old war movies, but war movies where they used horses and stuff. And, they have this old face covering for a horse, and then it goes down their snout and stuff like that. That is essentially what this looks like right here. And it's got a gem on top of the forehead of the cat. I like this one. I thought the build was kind of fun. I always get into trouble, not into trouble, but I always run into the issue of the joints and the legs setting up exactly the way I want when I build something. And I don't like all the movement that happens, but at the same time, I don't want joints in, like, let's say you have the front ones that move around and the rear ones are locked. Then I'm not going to like that then either. I'm just very difficult to please when it comes to something like this, even though it's not difficult to please a child. Anyway, moving on to the last one. So the very last set in the new wave coming January 1st is the Sandman's Tower. It's a $90 set, 71477 is the set number. It has 723 pieces. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Not too bad. We've got some chunky pieces that are in here, so that is definitely going to adjust the price somewhat. Now, I have to say, I'm pretty sure this is the very first actual ground building, playset building that we have had in Dreamzzz. I mean, we had the big boat ship, shark ship, whatever you want to call it. But this is 100% the first time we have had an actual ground building, which I think is kind of neat. And we get some new characters here. So we have the Sandman, we have Izzy, Mateo, Logan, who's the blue guy, and then we have the Never Witch and Sneak. Sneak makes another appearance. So the Sandman is probably my favorite character out of this entire deal. But we have the Sandman here. He's coming in that weird flamish, orangish, yellowish color here. And you put him on this, what is supposed to be like a water type genie legs idea theme, whatever you want to call it. And he's standing in that. That's, I guess he's supposed to be flying about like he doesn't really have legs, I'm assuming. I haven't seen the new updated season yet. Anyway, he comes with two faces. He comes with a smiley face, and then he comes with one where he's got this kind of weird patch across his eye. And then he comes with this little saber sword that he has carried around. Cooper is here. Cooper is in full body this time. He comes with his white hockey stick. He is all in that darker blue color, which is kind of crazy. A dark azure blue. So I like the way that is done. And on the back of his shirt, it says Monsters, which is kind of funny. We've already touched on Izzy, so we don't need to touch on Izzy again. We don't need to touch on Mateo, but he does have his cape this time, and he does have that weird kind of unicorn horn, narwhal horn stick that he's got. It's so weird looking. And then we have the Never Witch, which I'm pretty sure this is the first time we have seen her. I don't recall seeing her before. Anyway, the Never Witch comes with this staff that has a gem that is on top, a magenta gem. She is decked out in all black with nice detail in her printing. One side, she's got her eyes are red, by the way, and she's got this weird smile, laugh thing going on. And the other side, it's the same thing, except she's got a magenta stripe across her face at an angle, which is kind of bizarre. Her head piece, her hair, and I guess crown, if you want to call it that. The spiked crown are dual molded here. So you have pink hair and a black crown. All right. Then we have Sneak. We already touched on Sneak. He's a little cat guy. And then we have these two little not vehicles. These are not vehicles. I don't want them to be vehicles. We have a six-legged spider here that has a cauldron that you have two other little solid mold spiders that you can put in there and they can carry them around. And then we have this little bird type flyer that we have going on here, which is kind of cute in the way that it is done. You can actually, if you wanted to, you could actually have this bird, because the feet pop out, you could actually get it to stand upright, which is kind of neat. And then it has wings that are on ball joints, so you can move those around. It has oar pieces, like not like the brown oar pieces that we've seen with like the solid hulled boat. But these are oar pieces that I've seen, or flippers, depending on however you want to call them, whatever you want to classify them as. But it's a nice little build. The head of the bird just goes up and down. It's prints for the eyes on the 1x1 round tiles. Just kind of cool little build there to go along with it. But we move into the castle. And there are two different options that you can build. They essentially pretty much use the same parts, but you definitely have some parts left over depending on which build you choose to go with. So the big thing behind this, and I haven't, like I said, I have not seen the new season yet. I plan on watching it over the break here in the next couple days. But what we do have is this giant tower build. And at first glance on the package, for instance, you look at it and you're like, what is that supposed to be? I have no idea. You have no idea. You know, kids that have seen the cartoon are like, oh my God, this is what this is. You know, they're already able to tell you. So this thing has multiple levels to it. Actually has 5 different levels to it. Although, you know, there's only a few that are worth really anything. So down on the bottom level, let's start down there. We have some big stickers on some rounded rounded wall pieces here, those solid pieces. So we have that are on the sides here. They have the base here is that flamish orange yellow, which is really nice. Got some blue lights that are sticking outside the brick built doors on the bottom floor here. You have 2 clocks adjacent to each side of the doors, just above where you would start the second floor. But you have 2 clocks there. Those are stickers as well. The brick-built doors are really nicely done. I'm a big fan in the way that they were done, actually. I thought it was kind of cool in the initial assembly. Tiny, and it's got gold ingots, but, you know, there's a purpose to it. It's just kind of fun in its own way. So if you go to the left, because there's nothing to the right, if you go to the left, what you have is this kind of little brick-built archway, rounded archway. It's kind of cool looking in its own right. And if we spin it around to the back, this is where we start to see some of the detail from the show and stuff like that. There is spots for your minifigs to stand if you so choose. There's plenty of studs back here. You have this little workbench that is back here. You have a gemstone with 1x1 round tiles that are next to it of the same color, that opalescence, which is really pretty. And then you have this kind of little, I guess it's supposed to be like beakers to a certain degree. And they're water glasses, wine glasses, whatever you want to call them, from Lego that are upside down, clipped into place, and they just have magenta 1x1 round in there and another clear piece on the bottom of that, just to give you the idea that they're beakers or there's something in it, or you're building something, you're making something, some kind of potion. It doesn't really matter, but it's cute. And then we have this little stand here that has 2 different swords on it, so that is nice as well. Moving up to the second level, no, there are no stairs or any kind of elevator to any of these levels. It's open back, so you just play as you play. So we're going to spin around back to the front. We're on the second level here. On the right-hand side, what you have is you have a tree that's got blue leaves, the big blue leaves, the dark blue, like the big leaves that have all the studs on it. And then you actually have some zero-colored leaves that you plop onto here. So it's a tiny little brick-built tree. You've got some kind of golden canister thing that is sticking out here on the edge. I'm not really sure why that's there or what it is for. But as we swing back around to the front, you have a Nexonite shield tile that has some print on here of the hourglass, the sand hourglass. And then you actually have the hourglass that is just behind it, sitting it on a pedestal. And it's kind of being guarded by like these weird kind of spikes that are inward. It's very kind of unique in its own right. But again, we're talking about the dream guy here. So I understand that, the Sandman. If we swing around to the left, you have a little lookout area here with a telescope to be able to see what is going off on the distance. And it's just kind of in a precarious spot. I've not knocked it off yet, but it is kind of in this weird, the way it is attached, it's attached by 6 studs, but it just kind of hangs out over the top. It's just kind of weird. But there is plenty of walking space to get minifigs in here, however a kid wants to play and whatnot. Inside of the second floor, there's nothing here. It's just an empty room. If we go to the third floor, swinging back around to the front, what we see is we have this balcony that is out here, all in gold, the gold balcony. Ingots on top. We have another little blue leaf build tree that is growing out of the side here. And then we have this kind of book, a book of spells, perhaps. But we have this book in here, and it's got... It shows the gem. It shows the sleepy dust canister that is in here. Nothing else inside of there. You have another little archway, which you're not walking through, but it's an archway that comes out of the side, just like the one you walked under down on the bottom floor. This one comes out of the side, is clipped in, and is just kind of chilling there. Other than that, there's nothing else on this level. If we move up to the next level, there's nothing on the inside. Everything is exterior. But here is where we are getting our motion for the set. You actually have a mechanism in here. So on the front of this whole thing, nice little columns that are built here out of 1x1 round bricks, which is kind of nice. And then some 1x1 square, 1x1 square. Yeah, 1x1 square plates. So you have that alternating as you build up, and then golden frogs that are up here. I guess technically it's not, fourth, fifth level is almost kind of combined. But we do have this giant printed clock face, has some gears on it, has some other stuff on it, and then it has a 12 at the top. And then we have this brick built piece that it's got a little Harry Potter wand. It's got some other kind of little doodads here to make it look like the hands of a clock. and you can spin it around. So what happens is above that, and I'm going to describe this and then we'll talk about how it works. So above this, so technically if you want to call it the 5th level, we have some pieces that we've seen for water balloons and stuff like that. Water balloons. Why have water balloons on my mind? Maybe because there's a bunch of watery colored clear pieces that I'm about to talk about. Hot air balloon pieces. You put a bunch of them together and you can make a hot air balloon. And these are in gold. And on the inside of that, because this is covering the exterior, but on the inside of that, you have an actual brick built hourglass. I was literally sitting at my desk building it, and I said it aloud. I said, this is probably one of the coolest little builds I have ever seen. Now, it's not a super tiny build. It's not like something that you build, like a tiny build that you would build for a modular. You're like, well, that is really cool because you're using a lot fewer pieces, but you're also trying to build something in a different scale. For instance, for this, you have 2 of those clear, think of Beauty and the Beast. And we talked about it in one of the other sets. I think it was on Albert. It was his head covering out in space. Think of it as like a space helmet, something that is over top of the rose in Beauty and the Beast. So you have 2 of those. You have one that's on the bottom and you just stick a little stud in there, and then you have one that's on the top. You put a little stud in there. So really cute in the way that it is done. Above that, you have trans 2x2 round bricks. And then above that, we have some more bricks. These are sloped bricks. Again, the trans here, that trans blue, that light kind of watery blue. And then we have a golden ring. It's a solid ring, plastic ring that has Technic axle acceptance on each side of it. And then we have a point that is at the top. Now, I say all that for this specific reason. I'm trying to describe that so I can describe the functionality behind how this works. On the left-hand side, just adjacent to the clock face, there is a knob. And when you turn this knob, it turns some gears that are on the inside of level 4, which we don't need to talk about. But it turns some gears, so the hands on your clock move, and then this entire thing at the top of the build moves around. So you can turn it left and right. It doesn't matter. You can either, I guess you could be like, I'm going back in time or I'm going forward in time. It essentially becomes a time machine, which I think is kind of neat in its own way, but it just spins around at the top. It's just kind of something fun. And like I said, there's nothing to see on the inside. It's just simply a bunch of gears. It would be something if you were to do like a water wheel on where we've seen them on, I don't know, where they grind flour and stuff like that. I think, where did we have that? Was that in Dreamzzz? That might've been in Dreamzzz last season. I can't remember. Anyway, so you have that. And I got to say, it is a pretty tall build. It feels very flimsy in its own right. It reminds me of some of the Jurassic World builds from years past. I think from the movie, the second movie, was it Fallen Kingdom? No, Dominion. I don't remember. Somebody's yelling at me. I already know it. Sorry, Tom. Anyway, but it does feel kind of flimsy when you're moving it about. And the reason is because of the top. Because the top is only pinned into place, as you know, it's just supposed to pin around. I like the build. I think it's really unique. It's fun. It's something different. It's not something that has to be really transformed. This is the form that I transformed it in because I wanted it to be the tallest. If you choose not to, it is essentially building off to the right-hand side versus on the top, which is fine. I looked at it. I kind of went through it, looking at the mechanisms, the mechanics behind it. I'm like, it's pretty much all the same. But I like a tower. I like a tower much more so than I like a spaced out build. So I'm a fan of the set. I'm not a fan of the price point. I think the price point is high, but again, big plates on the bottom. You have the big rounded wall, solid chunk pieces. You've got the big hot air balloon pieces at the top. You got the big ring. You have the clock face. A lot of big chunky plastic here versus some of the others where they seem to be a little more on par for the price. However, I guess you can't complain. 90 still seems steep to me. I would have rather had it 80. 80 would have been okay. I think 80 would have been much more doable. Anyway, I would have to say out of this entire wave, so far, I'm sure we'll be seeing more. Mr. Oz's space car seems to be the best value in my opinion, and I love it the best. I think it's so cute. It's so cool looking. It's space. The cat isn't bad. As a whole, I think the wave is pretty solid. You have bunch of different price points here, but then you go from 10 to 16, not bad, still in a good range. 30, still good. 50, okay, maybe. And then boom, 90. But you have to have your high end of the wave. You always do. There's always going to be something, obviously, as high end, more high end. Anyway, so you have to let me know what you think. Is it a yes for you? Is it a no for you? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? There are always going to be things that people like and do not like, and that is fine. That is absolutely 100% fine. There are things that I don't like about certain waves, and, then there are things that I'm like, I like the $30 set better than I do the $80 set, just because it has a different feel. It has a different build. It doesn't feel like it's trying to accomplish too much or whatever. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a blast putting it together. This is one of the longest shows I have done in quite some time. You are welcome. So we have a few other things. We have Lego City. We have Ninjago that we're going to be touching on here in the next week. And then we have to count down our top sets of 2023, along with the Winter Village set, the Alpine Lodge. I keep saying Alpine, F1. Formula 1 is just stuck in my head constantly. So until we meet again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it.